Welcome to the Holiday and Cruise Clinic. I'm Jemma Gofton with another edition of the programme that aims to make your next cruise or holiday as problem-free and relaxing as possible. So if you have a holiday, cruise or travel-related question, here's how to get in touch. You can search for us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for the Holiday and Cruise channel. Or you can send in your questions to our website, www.holidayandcruisechannel.co.uk. Or you can write to us at the Holiday and Cruise channel, Cavendish House, Brighton Road, Liverpool L22 5NG. Now, in today's programme, we're discussing river cruise holidays. Have you ever wanted to sail down the Rhine or up the Danube, take a trip down the beautiful Mekong or enjoy a leisurely trip down the Seine with breathtaking views from the comfort of a river view cabin or on the top deck, passing historic cities, traditional towns and quaint villages? Well, here to tell us more about river cruising is Joseph Grimley from Riviera Travel. Thank you so much for popping back in. You're a friend of the show, really, aren't you?
Thank you very much.
That's very good of you. Tell us, what's the difference between ocean and river cruising?
Good question, one that a lot of people ask. There's quite a few differences. There's also quite a few similarities as well. The things that are pretty much the same are that you unpack once, you get to see different places every day, you get spoilt. People hold doors open for you, they call you sir and madam. The hospitality is fantastic, the food is fantastic. Cabins are spacious and you see lots of different things. The big difference with a river cruise is you've always got scenery. Wherever you go, you're in your cabin, you look out of the window, there's a castle on a hill, there's a campsite and the kids are waving at the ships going by on the river. You don't really get that on an ocean cruise because even though on an ocean cruise you see lots of different places, you do a lot of the sailing at night, so you don't actually get that constant changing scenery that you do on a river cruise.
And I guess obviously the nature of rivers is that actually the vessel that you're cruising on must be a bit smaller or a lot smaller.
A lot smaller than compared to a lot of today's huge great big ocean cruise liners. Yeah, a lot of the ships are about 110 to 130 metres long. They hold anything from about 90 to about 170 passengers. And two different lengths, but the widths are all identical. They can't go any wider than that because they've got to navigate the locks and get through as they're going up and down the rivers.
And I guess with that comes a sense of intimacy with fellow passengers and obviously people on board, the staff, the people who look after you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been on some ocean cruise ships where you meet a lovely couple on the first night and then you don't see them again all week and you think, oh, what happened to Dave and Joan from Wigan? Whereas on a river cruise, you know, you're constantly seeing the same people, whether you're in the bar, the lounge, you know, in the restaurant. But then, of course, you can get away from them as well because you've got plenty of opportunity to get off and on.
And what about river cruising if we're just chatting about it? Because I've noticed, and I'm not the only person because I mention this on most programmes, that cruising in general is becoming more popular. Mm-hmm. Is river cruising becoming more popular? It
is, definitely. It's early days really for river cruise. You know, over the last probably 15, 20 years, ocean cruising has just gone mad. It's got really accessible to people, very affordable, and you know, more and more companies are building more and more ships. River cruising is still kind of in its infancy. We think that the UK market makes up about 8% of the whole river cruise market. So we're still quite small, us Brits going on river cruises, but it is growing and growing.
And who is it aimed at, river cruising? Who does it appeal to?
Well, I think our customers really tend to be semi-retired or retired professional couples and singles. Anybody really that doesn't want to just go on holiday and sit on a beach, somebody that wants to see lots of things, you know, be shown the iconic sights, get off the beaten track, see some hidden gems, and really go on a journey of discovery. You're making your way along the river, you're stopping off at various points, and you're constantly taking in the culture, the history of the destination. So it's really for anybody that wants to explore and really see the destination from a unique perspective.
And for you, you're saying retired couples, but have you noticed that the age is dropping? Because obviously the age is dropping with cruising as well.
Mm-hmm. I think with ocean cruising, the age is starting to drop as different companies sort of cater towards younger markets. With river cruise, it's a slower progression. The average age of our customers is about 68. But then I've been on our ships when you've had couples in their 40s, couples in their 50s. So it's not just the retired brigade, it is the younger ones. You know, I go on river cruises with my wife, I'm 45, and I don't feel, you know, like I stick out like a sore thumb or anything like that.
Well, I guess, as you've said, it would appeal if you're interested in visiting beautiful cities. And actually, when you get there, even if you're not interested in sort of sightseeing, you go shopping and eat nice food and all of those things, you've only had to unpack once, as we said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, there is a perception to cruising and river cruising that it's expensive. Is that the case?
It depends how you look at it, really. I think with ocean cruising, as there's more and more ships, the prices have come down over the years. So what you could buy now in 2015, you probably couldn't buy in 20 years ago on an ocean cruise. The prices have come down. If you're comparing ocean cruise price to river cruise price, when you look at the initial cost in the brochure, you might think, that's quite a bit more expensive. But then if you break it down and look what's included, the key thing with ocean, difference between ocean and river, is you get all of your excursions included on the river cruise program. So by the time you take your cruise ticket price and then add on all these excursions every day, you can find they're fairly much on a level now, really.
I think that's what we need to do when planning holidays, is because we say, oh, that's a cheap flight to here, that's a cheap hotel, but actually we then spend fortunes in food and days out and things like that, don't we? So actually, if you break it down, that's when it works a little bit better for us. Let's just try and explain a standard sort of river cruise ship for people, because I've seen them. They seem very glass and a lot smaller than I would expect, but they must be quite canny with their space inside, I could imagine.
Yeah, they are. I mean, there's a few variations, but there's a fairly standard format these days. You've got 3 passenger decks, so 3 decks where the cabins are, where you sleep, you know. And what they tend to look like is the lower deck cabins tend to have a window. There's not inside cabins like you find on an ocean cruise ship, but the window is probably fairly high up. You can't open it because the water line's not that far below the window.
That's quite exciting, I would think.
But so you can see out, you get the light coming in, you've got individually controlled air conditioning in your cabins, and when the curtains close, you wouldn't be able to tell any difference between a lower deck cabin and a middle or an upper. On the middle and upper decks, you have French balconies, you know, like your patio doors at home. The 2 panes.
It's held together with sellotape. Be very careful.
Can't take me anywhere. The 2 panes of glass that slides across, so you get the fresh air coming into your cabin. And the beauty of those is that you can lie down on your bed as you're gliding down the river and just look out and see all the scenery. And if you pull next to the riverbank, or if you're more up next to another ship, you've still got your privacy, because you can pull your net curtain across or pull your main curtain across, but you're getting that fresh air coming into the cabin. Some ships are actually building outside balconies as well, where you can actually sit outside. We've got 2 ships that we have those on at the moment, but the majority of customers, in our experience, tend to find that the French balcony, works really, really well. You've got the decent sized cabins. The average size is probably 14 or 15 square metres. Ours are mainly 15 square metres standard. If you want more space, you can spoil yourself and go for a suite or a deluxe suite, about 22.5 square metres. So
there are different standards as well. So if you were, maybe it was your honeymoon, or you were really you've just retired, you're really splashing out, you could treat yourself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the sorts of facilities that you find. I mean, there's different sort of ranges. You've got your entry level, your sort of 3-star, and then you've got your 5-star. If you're going, we have 7 5-star ships, 2 4-star superiors. In our cabins, you'll find all the sort of facilities you'd find in a 5-star hotel room. So you've got your fridge, your mini bar, your hairdryer, your tea and coffee making. We're quite unusual because we put tea and coffee in our cabins. And you've got really nicely appointed bathrooms. Then when you come out of your cabins, you've got a really nice restaurant to have your dinner. Most ships have got an alternative dining venue as well. And then most of them will have this sort of panoramic observation lounge at the front of the ship. There's a bar so you can have a drink. There's normally TV screens. It's a lounge as well, so you can sit and chat to your other customers. But it's floor-to-ceiling windows, so you've constantly got a view of all this wonderful scenery that you're going along on the river. And it's not just the scenery; it's the wildlife as well. You so cute. You look out the window and see a family of swans and little cygnets following along. You get all that wildlife as well.
Sounds beautiful. We have to have a quick break. Don't go anywhere. I have tons more questions for you. Now, before we go to our break, let me tell you about this. It's our first time guide to cruise holidays, and it is well worth asking for because it's absolutely free of charge. Just give us a call, 03330 032 216. Calls will be charged at standard national rates, and you can also ask for a copy through our website, www.holidayandcruisechannel.co.uk. And whilst you're asking for this, we'll take a quick break. See you shortly. Back to the Holiday and Cruise Clinic. It's lovely to have you with us. In today's programme, we're discussing river cruising, and Joseph Grimley is still with me. Now, before the break, we chatted about the standard of cabins and the space available for people, but what we didn't chat about was entertainment. So, of an evening, we've had a full packed day, we've done tons, we've been on bike rides, we've had some sightseeing, and we come back on, what can we expect entertainment-wise?
Do you want any entertainment after all that excitement?
Joseph, I'm happy with a glass of wine, but some people need entertaining.
Well, funnily enough, on these big ocean cruise ships these days, they've got West End shows and they've got ice skating rinks, they've got theatres, they've got all sorts of things. You haven't got the space on a river cruise ship to have that. And really, a lot of people, if they have had a full day, they do just want to unwind. Maybe go in for dinner. Don't just go in for dinner for half an hour, go in for dinner for a couple of hours, chat with your passengers, have a laugh, swap stories, eat a lovely dinner, and then maybe retire to the lounge, have a nightcap and an early night. That's one option. A lot of people do that. The other option that you have, of course, is unlike an ocean cruise where you'll be in the middle of the ocean after dinner, you're actually moored up in a town. Most nights of most itineraries, we moor up until midnight or overnight. So what that means is, after dinner, you can have a little toddle down the gangway and you're there, you're in the town. You're not in an industrial dock waiting for a shuttle bus to take you every half an hour into the town and back. You can just potter about in the town.
And the beauty of that is that cities and towns at night are so different from in the day, aren't they?
Absolutely. Take on a completely different persona, and you really miss that on an ocean cruise. On a river cruise, you see all the buildings lit up, you've got street entertainers, you've just got the general buzz, you've got the bars, the shops that normally stay open in the evening. You can find a nice little square with a fountain, nice summer's evening, medieval half-timbered buildings surrounding you, sit and have a glass of local wine or local beer, happy days. We do have one bit of entertainment on our ships, which is on our Danube cruise when we go to Vienna. Because, as you know, Vienna is famed for its classical music, and everywhere you go, you see Mozart, etc. So, to take the stress out of choosing which show do I go to, we invite a string quartet on board. So, after dinner, everybody goes up into the lounge, and then 4 virtuoso ladies just sit and they play. Wow. The acoustics are fantastic, the atmosphere is amazing. You're looking out of the window at the lights of Vienna, hearing this beautiful music, and it's absolutely fantastic.
That does sound amazing. We glossed over my dining experience then, and I like to talk about food. So, what type of food can we expect on a river cruise?
As I say, it depends which river cruise you go on, of course, because if you go on a 3-star river cruise, you'll probably expect 3-star food, but then you're paying for that. You're probably happy with that, not a problem. If you're going on a 5-star river cruise, you're going to have fine dining. So you're going to go down to the restaurant, you're going to be waited on. Attentive waiters, you've got a choice of each course. There's a choice. There's also a buffet that you can get up and help yourself to hors d'oeuvres to as well in the evening. If you don't want to go into the main restaurant, then there's normally an alternative, slightly more intimate venue at the back. Most river cruise ships have a bar at the back, and we convert ours into a chef's signature restaurant in the evening. You don't have to pay an upgrade charge, you just book it at reception. Depending on the ship, there's between 22 and 26 covers, so you can just book that and go and have a slightly say, a bit more intimate dining experience.
And when you say intimate and fine dining, I then panic that I've brought the wrong outfit. Is there a dress code?
Again, it does vary from ship to ship. We don't have a dress code on ours because what we find is different people want different things. You know, I've spoken to customers, to gentlemen in their 60s who you know, very well to do, and they say, oh, I don't want to wear a suit. I wore a suit every day for the last 40 years when I was working. I've retired now, I've burnt all my suits. If I wear a tie, I feel like I'm being strangled. So they don't want to wear a suit and tie. On our ships and on a lot of the other companies, they'll tend to have a few themed evenings. So the first night, we always have a buffet because people are arriving at different times. You know, they're coming in either by Eurostar or they're flying from Manchester or flying from Birmingham. So it's a fine dining, hot and cold buffet. On the second night, we then invite customers to come down to the lounge and meet the captain and the crew, so that we'll have a welcome party. So if you do want to dress up, if you're one of these that like to put a jacket and a tie on, or if you like to put a cocktail dress on, the ladies of course, then you know that's a good opportunity to do that. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. So then you then go down after you've had your complimentary fizz and your canapes, you'll go downstairs and you'll have a wonderful meal. Halfway through each cruise, we have a captain's gala dinner. So again, those that want to dress up, there's a great opportunity. Put your sparkly jewellery on, etc. And then on the last night, we have a farewell dinner. And again, I normally will put a jacket on, but you don't have to. You really don't have to worry.
Wonderful. So you don't need to get too bogged down with wardrobe and what you pack, which is a lovely, lovely solution. Let's talk about destinations now and things people can see, because I guess that's what drives somebody to book a certain cruise, is that they want to see a certain place. What's the most popular?
Well, that's a really good question, and I spend so much time looking at the ships because there's some fantastic brand new modern river cruise ships, but the studies do say that people choose a river cruise. Number one priority is the destination. So focusing on the European river cruises that we do, I think the River Rhine is a great start for somebody who's never done a river cruise before. If you've got this image of sitting up on deck, gliding down the river with a glass of beer and your book, do people still have books? Your generic tablet reading device in your hand, and just watching the scenery and all these picture postcard villages, then that's what the Rhine's all about. And we do 3 itineraries. We start all of ours from Cologne. So Cologne in itself is a fantastic city, loads to see, the cathedral's stunning. And then the towns that you stop along the Rhine are very, very medieval, just beautiful, scenic little towns, probably towns you haven't heard of. If you go onto the Danube starts at Budapest, obviously a very iconic city.
Beautiful.
You visit Vienna. I mentioned the string quartet when we stop over there as well. There's Bratislava. So there's very well-known iconic cities that you will have heard of and plenty to do. And because the excursions are included, you'll always go off with a tour manager or with a local guide, and you'll be taken to basically shown the sights. And a great innovation that's happened on river cruising in the last couple of years is Bluetooth earpieces. So in your cabins you'll have these 2 little boxes, and it's a wire connected to an earpiece. So don't forget them when you go on your excursion. Pop those in. The tour manager or tour guide will be mic'd up. So instead of sort of, right, come on ladies and gentlemen, here we go off.
With a brolly.
With a brolly or the clipboards. Come on, little ducks all following in a row. They can just talk very, very naturally. Oh, let me point out this fantastic medieval house here, dates back to, type of thing. And it means that you don't have to rush along after them. You can go at your own pace. You can still hear everything that they're saying, and it's great because having that tour guide adds an extra dimension, because you can walk around with a guidebook yourself, but you know what they say, the guidebook gives you the facts, the tour guide gives you the story, and that's what you get. So Rhine, Danube, couple of rivers in France that we cover. We've got the River Seine, which takes you on a loop from Paris up to Normandy. Mm-hmm. You go through cider orchards, you go under stone medieval bridges, you have rolling countryside, you've got these wonderful French towns. There's an included excursion to see the Bayeux Tapestry. You go and see the D-Day beaches at Normandy. So lots and lots to see, and of course Paris itself. and the other French one takes you from Lyon down to Avignon, so it's through the wine region of Burgundy. You've got all of the vineyards, you've got the wine tasting, you've got the Pont de Gard Bridge, you've got gorges, you've just got fabulous scenery on your way down.
I mean, it all sounds amazing. What I think about cruising and river cruising is that it's opening up the world to us, and we're going to places we wouldn't necessarily have the courage to go to because we've got the security. So what about a hidden gem that's just become open to us that we maybe might be putting in our itinerary, places to go?
Cool, there's a question. There's so many. I think we're finding the most popular river at the moment, and we've sold out April, May, June, September, a lot of July, a lot of August, and into October for next year already is the Douro.
I've never even heard of it. That tells you how bad my geography is. I'm looking around, everybody else? No? Yeah, oh, they've heard of it.
Portugal.
Just me. Oh, Portugal, okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
and that includes a trip to the Taylor's Port distillery, but it basically goes from Oporto, get the right way, across that way towards Salamanca in Spain. So you cross the border, you go to Salamanca and see the world famous square there, and then you make your way back. That is a real unusual cruise, and people are hot for it at the moment. It's going absolutely mad.
Wow. And we are running out of time, but what's your favourite personal river that you've ever cruised down?
I like the Moselle. The Moselle, very similar to the Rhine. You've got those little picture postcard towns dotted around, but you've got the steep banking vineyards either side, so the scenery is stunning.
It's funny that yours has a little bit of a wine feel to your favourite river.
You've sussed me out.
You're a man after my own heart, you certainly are. Thank you so much for joining us today and chatting river cruises with us. It really does open our eyes. Now, before we head off, just a quick reminder about this. It's our first time guide to cruise holidays, and it's absolutely free of charge. Just give us a call, 03330 032 216. Calls will be charged at standard national rates. Now, don't forget, you can also ask for a copy through our website, www.holidayandcruisechannel.co.uk, where you can also get in touch with your questions for future programmes. Okay, that's all we've got time for on today's edition of the Holiday and Cruise Clinic. My huge thanks to Joseph Grimley, and thanks to you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.